Yes, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to come. I wanted to first start out with just some brief comments. Since I came back to the Department of Transportation in 2009, our objectives and our mission has been to restore trust and confidence in DOT, to be the very best stewards of our existing resources that we could, and then to build a vision and a plan for transportation for the future. And as I understand it, not just a DOT plan, but a plan for North Carolina that includes North Carolina. Since then, we've worked very hard to deal with members in both chambers and both aisles in an open and transparent manner. We've always worked to be factual and forthright to provide the best information for decision making. And with Executive Order Number 2, which directed us to remove politics from transportation so all voices would be heard, we've worked hard to make sure our decisions are made systematically and data-driven so that everyone is treated fairly and consistently. Last week, I found us in an unfortunate situation. However, I saw misinformation and I corrected it, and where I saw wrong, I fixed it. And I will be glad to cover what I saw as the sequence of events. I think it first was initiated with a letter that I had of June 8th in response to the need to generate options for motor fuels revenue shortfalls. I had a very high degree of certainty that funds on those two projects, in particular Mid-Currituck and Garden Parkway, would not be executed within the next 12 months because of a variety of issues, one being potential litigation. So I published that memo with that high degree of certainty. I made sure in there that it wasn't commenting on the quality of the project. It was, here's where we see us in the delivery process, and here's what funds I anticipated would be needed on July 1 of 2013. We received correspondence. I received correspondence on June 12th from Prior Gibson, from Senator White, and Representative Current with concerns, and he asked me to respond on behalf of the governor. Under my direction, the staff drafted a response, and based on Mr. Gibson's request, sent him a copy as well as a copy of the draft to the governor's communication office. The communication office that same day had no recommended changes. The very next morning, which was Thursday the 14th, I departed on military duty at 4:30 a.m. for Charlotte. I arrived in Charlotte for an exercise there at 8 a.m. Just before 9 a.m., I got a message from my administrative assistant that Mr. Gibson had edits. I requested that she work with Deputy Secretary Coward on the proposed changes, that I would be unavailable for the next few hours. The exercise lasted from 9 a.m. to 12 a.m. or 12 noon. In the meantime, while I was in the exercise, what occurred in my office was about between 9:30 and 10:30. The draft edits arrived that were presented to the staff, and they were presented as a factual statement reviewed by the governor's staff and attorneys and must be completed, and this letter must be sent by 10:45. The document was originally signed by the Deputy Secretary for me, or was proposed to be signed by her for me. However, Mr. Gibson stated that it had to come from my signature. Letters were then digitally signed, and Mr. Gibson took 4 copies that were made. The tabletop exercise ended at 12, and at 12:01, between 12:20, I had found out that I'd received a large number of voicemail and one critical email from my administrative assistant. I responded to the administrative assistant on what I saw was a problem with the letters as drafted. Between 1 and 2:30, I was on the road returning to Raleigh and called critical individuals on my staff to get an assessment on what happened while I was in the exercise. And at 2 o'clock, I called Mr. Gibson and relayed my concerns with the intent to recall the letters. I arrived back at the office at 4 p.m., assessed the situation further, and drafted and issued the recall memos at 5 p.m. And that's my understanding and my testimony today on the events as they occurred.
Mr. Trogdon, thank you. If I might, we have these here, the letter